Assalamu alaikum. This is Coach T, and I'm talking to you today about making marriage simple. We're on page 8 in the book. I'm going to go through from page 8 to maybe up to page 21. We are on our day, I think it's day 4 and 5 of the posting and the replies and things of that nature. So I wanted to share with you just some points that I found of interest in the book, and I wanted to get your feedback on it. So something that really stood out was on page 8, and I like the little picture that the illustrator has here where it shows two stubborn eggs or two stubborn circle people or whatever. And basically, at this point, we've all been here in our relationships where you see that the one egg is saying, you're so wrong and I'm not budging an inch. And then the other egg is saying, and you're so wrong and I'm not budging an inch. And basically, what happens at that point, nothing happens. Is because no one is able and no one is willing to move or even try and do better. So instead of forcing your will on somebody else, it's best at that point to start and step forward and make the changes yourself. So this is from the chapter on how to use this book. So what I wanted to do was go over some of the highlights, some of the ways, and explain the different study styles that go along with using this book. So initially they have here the first thing that you're to do, as with anything, we know the first thing that we start with our intention. We start with the niyyah and sabr. And sabr is consistent, persistent, the fortitude to continue on and to push through. So you know that there are things that are going to come and you're not going to want to complete the book. Just know that, because as with anything, as with any kind of change, there's going to come resistance. And resistance usually comes in the form of an attitude or a bad day or something of this nature that's going to come, and it's not going to want you to continue forward. But press forward anyway. You've started on the journey, and press forward because you realize that at the end of the road is where you want to be. You want to have your marriage made better. You want to have better communication with your spouse, and you want to feel better about yourself. So it says here, building a new way of relating to each other is like developing muscles. It takes intention. And as we just said, the niyyah, that's our intention, and daily work. That's our sabr. That's our consistency. That's our persistence. So the different ways they said that she highlighted that we can break through, go through this book. You can read it straight through. You can read straight through to chapter 1 and then complete the exercises. You can complete the entire program, which is located at the end of the book. You can journal, use a journal and a notebook, or you can, you can have 2 copies of the book for your spouse, one for your spouse and one for yourself. So the main points on this part are to continue working the exercises, work through the pace that is right for you. I chose the daily reading pace for all of us because I know we have busy lives. So I figured if we did 7 pages per day for like 20 minutes or something of that nature, then it wouldn't be so much like at the end of the week, you have to make sure that you've read 35 pages, because sometimes it's hard to carve out that amount of time to just sit down and do the work. But I felt that 7 pages per day was something that was doable. So like even myself, this week I fell behind a little bit, so I wasn't able to post on time each day. And I do apologize for that because I wanted to set the standard for you all. So inshallah, the following weeks, I will be posting something daily. So, but yeah, just seven pages. So going back, and this is a really good note that, something I found in the book, even if your partner doesn't read, or your partner can't read the book, or won't take the time to read the book, or just not able to do it, what you can do is take the initiative and actually complete the book. Just do the work on your own. because it takes two to tango, as the saying goes. So you know that it's going to take you to make some changes, and then he's going to in turn make changes as well, whether it's intentional or unintentional on his part. Once you come differently, if you show up differently, he has no other option except to actually do something different himself. So, all right. So now we are moving on to truth number 1. And this is where our first set of exercises are going to come from. Truth number 1, romantic love is a trick. The interesting parts of this section were that definitely the early stage of romance, it brings out the best in people, and we're, happy to be with each other. We oh my gosh, we feel like we've known this person our entire lives. And something that the author said in the book was that this new person has some very strong similarities to your childhood caregivers. That was very interesting for me. And when I read that, I was like, I wonder how they're going to explain that one, because I really didn't see where it was going. I knew that there was a concept that talks about completing the work. Like if you have some issues in childhood or some things that you had, maybe a parent was an alcoholic, or you had an issue with someone being abusive, or you had, abandonment issues. Typically, these things will show up in your relationship that you find with another, but I just didn't know how they were going to break it down. But I see now that basically what they're saying is that it's going to the purpose of romantic love, and I'm on page 14. The purpose of romantic love is to draw you to that person that has the positive and the negative attributes of the caregivers that you encountered in your life, in your lifetime, especially as a child. There's unfinished work, basically unfinished work within your persona and within your life, the fulfillment of your life. So your subconscious actually finds that person who's going to challenge you in those same type of ways in order to make you finish that work, in order for you to be a complete whole person. And I thought that was very interesting. So as we go through, we're going to hear more about this, that particular aspect. So yes, and then they continue on to page 16 and talks about that. And they give examples. The author shares examples. On page 19, I want to wrap up because I want to keep this under 10 minutes. On page 19, there's a really good part in the middle. It says, in spite of my many efforts, I was failing to meet any of Harville's real needs. I was doing things for him, but I wasn't connecting with him. And this made me think about our previous book from last month, The Love Languages. It just seemed like to me that was a direct love language disconnect, where the wife was maybe doing acts of service. She was showing him and doing all these different things and talking to people about all of these kind of things about him. But she never, as she said in the previous paragraph, she never really asked him what he wanted. And she never really took the time to find out what his love language was so she can communicate effectively to him in that particular language, in that style, so that way he understood and felt the love that she was giving him. So as we move on pages 22 and 23, there's the exercise, then and now. So you can read the first part. What I've broken down into the guide that I'm using, what I think would be a good exercise for us in the first section of your notebook or of your journal, write the exercise for the beginning. Write the first. Write down the frustrations you remember that you had with your childhood caregivers and how you felt. So on page 157, they tell you you can look through there and you can find out the information on how to go about doing that. So then the second part of the exercise is to do the then part. And what I would like for you to do, and it says here, talk over the similarities between the two lists with your partner. And if, like we talked about before, if you're not working with a partner right now, what you can do is go in the back of your journal in the back part and write a Dear John letter. And like a Dear John letter is just like a letter to your partner that who's not there. So use that back section to tell them exactly the information. You can talk over, just write out the information. So that's pretty much what it boils down to for that exercise. And in the next video, I'll continue to talk about truth number 2, which is incompatibility is grounds for marriage. What are your thoughts on that one? Okay. Thank you very much for listening, and please post your answers or any questions or anything that you want to talk about in this section for the part for days. I think we're days 3 and 4. So we're up to page 23 now. So everyone have a good day, and inshallah, I will talk to you soon. Assalamu alaikum.